Hello everyone, my name is Mike Williams and I'm the Director of the Prince George's County Returning Citizens Affairs Division under the leadership of County Executive Angela Alsobrooks. The Returning Citizens Affairs Division, or RCAD as we call it, is intended to coordinate services for men and women who have recently or been released from periods of incarceration from state, local, and federal facilities. In today's episode of our podcast, we have a very special guest. Our county government has hired several returned citizens to work in county positions. So I have with me today my brother, Vaughn Tyler, who's going to talk a little bit about his experience from incarceration to where he is now. And so, Vaughn, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Vaughn. I guess I can start in the beginning, actually. When I was 24 years old, I was incarcerated. And a serious charge at the time when I was incarcerated. Wasn't really sure how that was going to go as far as me like being able to, move forward with my future and things like that. I made a promise to myself. That I didn't want to stay the way that I was. I always said it to myself like I was dedicated to change. I continually told myself that I was dedicated to change. And however that was going to be, whatever had to take place for me to change, I was just open to that process. Right. So my whole journey in prison, from me learning, like me learning about who I was and what I wanted for my life, it just continued to evolve over time with me being in prison. And that's what I ultimately believe, definitely God's blessing over my life. But that's definitely what it was that has me in this position here today, is because of the dedication that I had to actually wanting to change. One of them that stood out a lot for me was AVP, Alternative to Violence Project. Well, basically, which it was teaching me like that there's alternatives to you just being violent. For a lot of guys, man, them being violent is like all they know. Like, you know what I'm saying? If it's just being in their environments and stuff, it's like that's all they see around them all the time. So for them, it's like a natural response to be violent at times. But for me taking that class and then the environment that I was in, I'm in an environment that's already hostile. So I'm like, man, I want to be able to make it home someday. So I'm like, I have to be able to adjust to this environment that I'm in such a way that I'm going to be able to survive the environment, but also I'm going to be able to move in such a way that I'm not going to hold myself back from the goal that I had, which is to go home. Right. So that's basically was one of the tools that I had, which was AVP, Alternative to Violence Project, that helped me as far as learning ways to address conflict at times in a non-violent way.
So we see you got your work uniform on.
Yes, sir.
A lot of guys come home, they struggle to find meaningful employment.
Yes, sir.
Tell us how it is. Tell us what the job is and how you got to where you are.
Okay, so I work for Department of Public Works and Transportation. The title that I have is I'm currently an equipment operator. I was blessed to test and pass and receive my Class A CDL license most recently. And since I've been there, we do various things. We do snow removal. I currently work with the concrete crew. So we do sidewalk repair, anything that becomes like a trip hazard. We do repairs for things like that. That's the crew that I work with. But we also have asphalt crews. We have various different crews, litter crews, bulk trash crews, different crews that we have there. But the one that I work for specifically is the concrete crew at this time. Yeah.
So you told me some good news today that you got.
Yes, sir.
You want to share that with our audience?
Yeah, yes, sir, definitely. So today, I spoke with the HR department for Department of Public Works and Transportation, and I was given an offer to come on with permanent full-time status, which I'm so grateful for. I will be coming in as what's called a masonry mechanic. While I was incarcerated, I thank God for this. While I was incarcerated, I got a skill in masonry. I took the time to learn this skill in masonry while I was there. I took a 600-hour course in Roxbury Correctional Institution. While I was there, my instructor, Mr. Hustle, and I just take my hat off to him, other guys that was incarcerated, Wayne, the different guys that were there that taught me all that I needed to know in masonry. And also, because I did so well while I was taking the course, they allowed me to come back and be an aide to help other guys that were there, other guys that were in the same situation that I was, incarcerated, learn this skill. So me coming home, I'm able to utilize a skill that I learned in prison. You know, that all those years that I was doing in prison, learning it, I was able to come home and use the skill to benefit, So it's definitely a blessing, man. And I can't wait to get started with this new role that I have with Department of Public Works and Transportation. And just being able to grow there and just continue to learn and whatever the future has for me.
That's awesome. Vaughn, you've also talked to me about being finding opportunities to speak to other people who are incarcerated, some young people prior to them getting to the place where they get incarcerated. What would you say to a young person who's maybe not headed in the right direction? What kind of advice would you give that young person?
I would definitely tell them to take a second to really think about your choices. To like really seriously think about your choices, because like sometimes I feel like we do a lot of things in haste, and what I mean by we do a lot of things in haste at times, we don't really give ourselves a second to really think about the outcome of this decision that we about to make. I've seen a lot of different things when I was younger. I've seen guys get shot, I've seen guys get robbed, and doing all those things, I said to myself, like, most of those guys never really thought about how this was going to affect them long term, before they actually made a decision. Like I said to you before, like I met so many guys, incarcerated guys that got 50 years and 60 years. My younger cousin, who has 60 years in prison right now, including myself, because I'm guilty of it as well, didn't take a time to have a second thought about the decision that you're about to make. So if I was to say anything to him, I would really tell him to, take a second before actually making the decision that's going to impact the rest of your life, because you have so much life to live. And I think that's the thing, man, at times, like, that guys that's 17, 18 years old, that they don't really think about when they're doing something. Like, even if it comes to them picking up a gun and taking someone's life, you don't understand, man, the impact that that's going to have, not only on someone else's life, their family, their loved one, but how that's going to really affect you. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be 18 years old or to be 16 years old and to not see the street again until you 40 or 50 years old is like, I couldn't imagine something like that for all that time, and to come home. I know it's so many guys I met that was like 16 years old and never ever like had the experience of having a job or driving a car or like just like normal things that you do when you 16, 17 years old. You know what I'm saying? They never had the experience of doing any of those things. Well,
that is good advice. That's a good word, a good message. Thank you so much, Mr. Tyler, for spending this time with us. And to our audience, I just want to say how proud I am of Vaughn and the work that he's doing, the work that he's done on himself, and the work that he's now doing to rebuild our community right here in Prince George's County. Mr. Tyler is literally using his skills that he learned while he was incarcerated in masonry and building and driving so that he can rebuild and build up this community. And I want all of our audience to know that this is possible, that just because you make a mistake doesn't mean that that's the end of the road, that there's second chances matter, and if you take advantage of second chances, you can too have positive outcomes and you can become a contributing, positive member of our community. So often we hear about the negative stories regarding our youth and our young men. But here's a positive story. Here's an example of what's possible if you just have some faith, hard work, and determination. You can make it work. And so I just want to thank Mr. Tyler again, and I just want to applaud him and all of the men and women who've returned home from incarceration to Prince George's County, who are committed to turning their lives around and to being positive forces in our community.